What if I told you that some of the habits you thought were perfectly healthy might actually be quietly damaging your arteries every single morning? And not only that, they could be setting you up for a heart attack years down the road without you ever noticing the warning signs. Sounds dramatic? Maybe. But here's a question for you. What if your morning coffee ritual, your brisk walk, or even the kind of breakfast you're eating is working against you, not for you? Could something you believe is keeping you youthful and energized actually be pushing your heart toward trouble? Today, we're diving deep into the 4 common morning habits that could be clogging your arteries without you knowing. And by the end, you'll see exactly what to change and why it could literally save your life. Before we get into it, go ahead and tap that subscribe button. If you're serious about your health and longevity, you're going to want to stick around for everything we've got coming. Now let's get right into it, because what we're about to uncover affects millions of people, especially seniors, and chances are it's affecting you or someone you love. Here's the deal. Arteries don't clog overnight. It's not one bad meal or one skipped walk. It's slow, it's sneaky, and often it's built right into what we assume are good habits. The scary part is that damage begins long before symptoms appear. And here's where curiosity becomes your best friend. Because once you see how these habits unfold in your body, you'll never go back to your old routines the same way again. So let's start with something that feels innocent, even healthy: skipping breakfast. Now I know some of you are thinking intermittent fasting, right? Isn't that supposed to be good for you? Well, yes. And no, this is where it gets interesting. Intermittent fasting has a solid body of research behind it when done correctly. But here's what we don't talk about: how skipping breakfast as a routine, especially for older adults without proper nutritional structure, can backfire. Why? Because the way your body handles stress and inflammation changes as you age. Seniors have different hormonal responses than someone in their 30s or 40s. When you skip that first meal, your cortisol levels can spike higher and stay elevated longer. Cortisol, as you probably know, is your stress hormone. Elevated cortisol increases inflammation. And chronic inflammation, it's one of the key drivers of plaque buildup in your arteries. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Missing a balanced breakfast can also cause blood sugar instability, especially if you're insulin resistant, a condition that becomes more common as we age. You might not feel it in your 60s, but your glucose tolerance isn't what it was at 25. And when your blood sugar drops, your body responds with a surge of stress hormones, again kicking inflammation into gear. This isn't just about energy dips or mood swings. It's about how those biochemical reactions quietly contribute to endothelial damage, the fragile inner lining of your blood vessels. Once that lining is inflamed or injured, cholesterol particles, particularly small, dense LDL, can more easily stick to the artery walls and form plaque. And that's how something as simple as regularly skipping breakfast without guidance can become a risk factor. So if you're doing intermittent fasting, are you doing it strategically? Are you watching your macronutrients and micronutrients in the meals you do eat? Or are you just skipping meals and calling it health? That distinction is everything. Intermittent fasting done poorly can be a source of nutritional deprivation and stress. Done right, it can support metabolic health. But for seniors especially, it has to be tailored. The rules change with age, and so should your approach. Now let's shift to something that might surprise you even more: your morning walk. Wait, how could that possibly be bad? Isn't walking the cornerstone of healthy aging? Yes, movement is essential, but here's the nuance. Are you walking before you've hydrated? Are you stepping out on an empty stomach with a body that's already running low on electrolytes or energy reserves? Here's what happens. Many seniors wake up slightly dehydrated. Overnight, you lose water through respiration and sweat, even in cooler climates. If you go from bed to brisk walk without rehydrating, you may be thinning your blood volume just enough to increase your heart's workload. Add in a touch of arterial stiffness, another natural part of aging, and what you get is a situation where your heart is pushing thicker blood through narrower pipes without the fuel it needs. That's a recipe for microvascular damage, and again, inflammation follows. Dehydration, even mild, affects the viscosity of your blood. Thicker blood means more pressure, more strain, and more opportunity for those little cracks and lesions to form inside the arteries. And you know what fills those cracks? Lipids, plaque. Over time, that buildup creates the conditions for atherosclerosis. But we rarely think of hydration as a heart health issue, right? We talk about water in terms of skin and kidneys and digestion, but the reality is, your blood is over 90% water, and your heart has to move that blood thousands of times per day. If the volume is down or the viscosity is up, every beat becomes a little harder, a little more stressful. So what's the fix? Simple. Start your day with 12 to 16 ounces of water, ideally with a pinch of mineral-rich salt like pink Himalayan or sea salt, not table salt. This isn't about sodium. It's about restoring electrolytes, giving your body the support it needs to regulate pressure and flow. Now, let's talk about another habit hiding in plain sight: your breakfast food choices. And this one might sting a little. We've been told for decades that starting your day with whole grains and fruit is the heart-healthy way to go. But let's look at the science. Whole wheat toast, orange juice, even oatmeal. Yes, oatmeal can spike your blood sugar far more than you'd expect, especially if you're older and insulin sensitivity is lower. A bowl of quick oats can send your glucose soaring and trigger a sharp insulin response. That repeated spike and crash cycle is one of the fastest ways to accelerate arterial aging. Insulin is not just a blood sugar regulator, it also promotes fat storage and influences inflammation. And insulin resistance doesn't start with dessert. It often starts with that so-called healthy breakfast that's actually flooding your bloodstream with simple carbs and fructose. Consider the glycemic load of what you're eating. That orange juice? Its glycemic index is lower than soda, but the fructose load is nearly identical. And unlike glucose, which can be used by every cell in the body, fructose is metabolized almost exclusively in the liver. That overload contributes directly to fatty liver and triglyceride buildup, which are major markers for heart disease. It's not just about fat in your arteries, it's about metabolic dysfunction that starts in the liver and spills over into your cardiovascular system. When your liver is overwhelmed, it can't regulate cholesterol effectively. It starts pumping out small, dense LDL particles, the ones most likely to get trapped in the lining of your arteries. And those healthy sugars in fruit juice and granola bars, they're often worse than a scoop of ice cream when it comes to long-term metabolic health. So the next time you're reaching for something light in the morning, those dry cereals, fruit-flavored yogurts, or even the so-called breakfast cookies, remember, it's not about the brand or the label. It's about how your body responds. And for seniors, that response is different. Your insulin doesn't clear the sugar as fast. Your arteries are more reactive to inflammation. Your recovery from damage is slower, which means you need to be more proactive, not less. Now, the fourth habit we need to talk about might be the most invisible of all. It's not food or water or even movement. It's your mindset. Yes, your stress response first thing in the morning, and this one is quietly stealing your health. You wake up and immediately check your phone. The news, your emails, maybe a few alerts that spike your anxiety. Sound familiar? That immediate hit of cortisol, the stress hormone, sets the tone for your entire vascular system. Cortisol doesn't just make you feel stressed. It raises your blood pressure, tightens your blood vessels, and directly increases your risk of cardiovascular events when sustained over time. So if your first 30 minutes of the day is filled with digital overload, mental multitasking, and cortisol surges, your arteries feel that. Chronic exposure to elevated cortisol has been shown to reduce nitric oxide production in the endothelium. That's the compound your body uses to relax and widen blood vessels. Without it, your arteries stay constricted, your blood pressure climbs, and your risk increases. And let's not forget, the more you feel stressed, the more likely you are to reach for those sugar-laden comfort foods or delay that walk or skip that water. It becomes a chain reaction. But here's the opportunity. This is where change begins. You don't need to overhaul your life. You just need to become aware. And that starts with curiosity. Asking yourself, is this habit supporting me? or slowly hurting me? Is my breakfast fueling longevity or feeding inflammation? Is my walk helping or hindering based on how I prepare my body for it? There's so much more to unpack. So many ways these small, innocent morning choices ripple out over years. But once you understand the mechanisms behind them, once you connect the dots, you take back control. You're not at the mercy of aging or genetics. You're empowered. You get to choose whether your arteries stay open highways or slowly turn into blocked roads. So now that we've looked at how skipping meals, dehydrated morning walks, high-carb breakfasts, and morning stress responses can all quietly sabotage arterial health, let's start connecting those dots even deeper. Because what if I told you that many of the signs we ignore, those little moments you brush off, are actually your body begging for help? That morning stiffness in your hands, that slight shortness of breath walking to the mailbox, that lightheaded feeling after getting out of bed. These aren't just signs of aging. They could be signals that your blood flow is already compromised, that your arteries are narrowing, that oxygen isn't moving like it used to. Let's go back to breakfast for a moment, not just what you eat, but how you eat. Are you distracted, rushing, eating on the run? Believe it or not, eating quickly and without mindfulness can impact your digestion and your vascular tone. When you eat under stress, what researchers call a sympathetic dominant state, your digestive function slows, your blood vessels constrict, and your heart rate rises. That may not sound like a big deal, but it means fewer nutrients absorbed, less blood flow to the gut, and more inflammatory triggers entering your bloodstream. Over time, that sets the stage for elevated CRP levels. That's C-reactive protein, a key marker of inflammation linked to heart disease. What's even more interesting is that chronic low-grade inflammation from something as seemingly harmless as repeated rushed meals can make the cholesterol in your blood far more dangerous. It oxidizes, and oxidized LDL is far more likely to stick to the walls of your arteries than regular LDL. Think about that. Two people can have the same cholesterol number, but one has a much higher heart disease risk, not because of the number, but because of the context, because of how that cholesterol behaves in an inflamed environment. So here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to hear. Heart attacks rarely happen because your cholesterol was simply too high. They happen because your lifestyle created an internal terrain that allowed damage to occur. Damage from sugar, damage from stress, damage from unstable blood pressure, poor sleep, and yes, even from skipping meals or drinking that heart-healthy orange juice. It's the little things we ignore because they're so familiar. Let me tell you a story. A patient in her early 70s, active, slim, non-smoker, no medications. Her blood pressure was a bit high, but nothing alarming. She walked every morning, ate healthy, and thought she was doing great. But her breakfasts, whole grain toast, low-fat fruit yogurt, orange juice. Her mornings, rushed with errands, emails, and grandkids. She'd always skip water until lunch. Over time, her CRP crept up, her triglycerides spiked, even though she was eating clean. Eventually, she had a minor stroke, not because of bad genes, not because she was lazy, but because her routine, her innocent-seeming morning habits, were not protecting her heart the way she thought. And she had no idea until it happened. Now she's fine today. She's made changes. But imagine if she'd known sooner. Imagine if she'd had a video like this one showing her the subtle traps hiding in her everyday routine. That's why this matters. Because the next heart attack doesn't announce itself. It builds silently, day after day, with choices that feel normal. Let's circle back to hydration, because this one is bigger than people think. Water isn't just about quenching thirst, it's about maintaining blood volume, helping the kidneys filter toxins, and supporting the delivery of oxygen throughout your entire body. Your heart has to pump harder if your blood is thicker. And what causes thicker blood? Dehydration. Add that to a high-sugar meal and you've got double trouble. Sugar makes your blood sticky. Combine that with low water intake, and your blood becomes sluggish. That's when clots form more easily. That's when circulation to your brain, your heart, your limbs starts to suffer. Have you ever felt dizzy when you stand up quickly in the morning? That's a red flag for possible low blood volume or poor vascular tone. And again, it's not just aging, it's often poor morning habits. A glass of water with minerals first thing can change how your entire cardiovascular system functions. It supports adrenal health, it improves blood flow, it lowers the demand on your heart. You can feel better in days, but most people never think to try. And now let's address something that might feel counterintuitive: low-fat breakfasts. For decades, we were told fat was the enemy, but science now shows that healthy fats, like those from eggs, avocados, nuts, and seeds, can actually reduce inflammation and improve lipid profiles. Why? Because they help stabilize blood sugar. They slow digestion, reduce insulin spikes, and provide satiety. If your breakfast is mostly carbs, like cereal, fruit juice, toast, you're starting your day with a blood sugar roller coaster. But if you anchor that meal with healthy fat, your energy, focus, and blood flow improve dramatically. Omega-3 fats in particular are crucial for heart health. They reduce inflammation, improve artery flexibility, and support the balance of LDL to HDL cholesterol. In fact, several large-scale studies have shown that people with higher omega-3 intake have lower rates of cardiovascular disease. So ask yourself, are you starting your day with real food that balances your hormones and supports your blood vessels? Or are you starting it with a rush of glucose that sets off a cascade of inflammation? And what about coffee? It's a sacred ritual for millions of people, but how you drink it matters. Black coffee on an empty stomach, especially first thing in the morning, can increase cortisol significantly. That spike can contribute to high blood pressure and anxiety, particularly in older adults who are already dealing with arterial stiffness. But when you pair coffee with a healthy fat, like a spoon of coconut oil or a bit of grass-fed butter, you blunt that cortisol response. You slow the absorption of caffeine, and you support ketone production, which the brain and heart both love as a fuel source. It's not about giving up your coffee, it's about making it smarter. This is what modern aging needs: strategy, awareness, micro-adjustments that add up over time. The habits that got us through our 30s and 40s don't always serve us in our 60s and beyond. Your arteries become more sensitive, your metabolism shifts, your recovery slows. So you need every habit working with your biology, not against it. Ask yourself, do I feel clear-headed in the morning? Do I have stable energy before lunch? Or do I crash mid-morning? Is my blood pressure steady or creeping up year after year despite doing everything right? These questions matter because the answers point to subtle signs of vascular health or dysfunction. Now, here's the good news. When you shift even one of these habits, the ripple effect can be massive. Replace the carb-heavy breakfast with eggs and sautéed greens, and you stabilize blood sugar. Drink a tall glass of mineral water before your walk, and you improve circulation. Take 5 deep breaths before you check your phone, and you lower your cortisol. These are small moves, but they have a huge impact over time. Because here's the truth. It's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It's about realizing that your morning routine is either opening your arteries or closing them. And every choice you make either protects your heart or taxes it. You get to choose which side you're on. Now, if you've made it this far, you already know your mornings matter more than most people ever realize. They set the rhythm for your entire cardiovascular system. They decide whether your arteries are relaxed and open or constricted and inflamed. And one of the most overlooked morning habits that plays a major role in this balance is your breathing. Yes, your breathing. Here's the thing. Most people, especially seniors, wake up and immediately start shallow breathing without even noticing. It happens automatically when stress kicks in, when you check your phone, when your mind jumps ahead to your to-do list. Shallow chest breathing activates your sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight response. That raises your heart rate, tightens your blood vessels, and raises your blood pressure. And you haven't even gotten out of bed yet. But what happens when you start your morning with intentional deep belly breathing? You activate the parasympathetic system, the calm and repair state. Blood vessels relax, oxygen delivery improves, inflammation markers go down. Studies have even shown that just 5 minutes of deep breathing can lower blood pressure and improve heart rate variability, a powerful marker of cardiovascular health and resilience. Think about that. 5 minutes. No equipment, no pills, just breath. And yet, how many of us forget to even breathe properly in the morning? The quality of your breath reflects the quality of your health. So before you do anything else, before you open the curtains or pour that coffee, try this. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4, hold for 4, and exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. Do that for just 2 or 3 minutes and feel what happens. Your body will tell you, this is the state it wants to be in. This is how healing begins. Now, another habit that often flies under the radar is your mindset about aging itself. You see, the beliefs you carry when you wake up affect your physiology. Research from places like Harvard has shown that people who have a positive perception of aging live, on average, 7.5 years longer than those with a negative view. Not because they exercise more, not because they eat better, simply because their minds are wired toward vitality instead of decay. Every morning you have a choice. Are you reinforcing the belief that this is just how it is? Or are you telling your body, I'm still in control? Because the science is clear. Your thoughts aren't just ideas. They become chemicals. They shape hormones. They influence inflammation, blood pressure, and immune response. In short, they affect whether your arteries are healing or breaking down. And this isn't just motivational talk. It's biology. Cortisol, dopamine, serotonin, nitric oxide, they all respond to thought patterns. So if your mornings are filled with dread or resignation, your body responds as if it's under threat. But when you start the day with gratitude, optimism, and even just one empowering intention, your cardiovascular system reflects that safety. It softens. It breathes. It lets go of tension. Let's tie all of this together with one more hidden danger, one more habit that most seniors never think about, but one that may be clogging arteries in silence. It's what I call the silent morning toxin, sitting still for too long. Now, I'm not talking about meditation or breath work. I'm talking about the habit of waking up, sitting down with your coffee and phone or newspaper and staying there, motionless, for 30 minutes, for an hour, sometimes more. It feels relaxing, but inside your body, it's not. When you sit still for extended periods first thing in the morning, your circulation stagnates. Your blood pools in your lower body. Your lymphatic system, which has no pump of its own and relies on your muscles to move, becomes sluggish. And your arteries, already more prone to stiffness with age, become less responsive. That stiffness, combined with sluggish circulation, is a perfect storm for arterial plaque formation. But again, the solution is simple. Just move. Not a workout, not a sweat session, just movement. Walk barefoot for a few minutes, stretch your arms overhead, roll your shoulders, do gentle ankle circles or knee bends. This tells your body, the day has begun. Blood needs to flow. Oxygen needs to move. These little morning movements stimulate nitric oxide production, the same molecule your body uses to relax arteries and improve circulation. And nitric oxide isn't just about blood pressure. It's about brain function, immune health, even sexual health. It's that important. Now, if you're thinking, I already know most of this, ask yourself, am I living it? Because information alone doesn't protect your heart. Application does. And the only way we apply consistently is when we understand the why, when we feel the importance in our bones, when it clicks that the same body we woke up with today will carry us into the next decade, and it's either working for us or against us based on our habits. And those 4 habits we started with, they're just the beginning. It's not just skipping breakfast, it's skipping intelligent nutrition. It's not just walking, it's walking hydrated and fueled. It's not just eating, it's understanding how your body responds to that food. It's not just reading the news, it's how your nervous system reacts to it. When you look at your mornings through this lens, you start to see everything differently. Your choices become tools. Your routine becomes a strategy. And suddenly, heart health isn't something that's just in the genes. It's something you're actively shaping meal by meal, breath by breath. And here's the most powerful truth I can leave you with today. Your arteries want to heal. Right now, inside your body, cells are trying to repair damage, reduce inflammation, restore balance. That process never stops, but it needs your help. It needs you to stop fighting it with sugar, stress, and stagnation, and start supporting it with hydration, calm, real food, and movement. So the next time you wake up, ask yourself, am I waking up to routine or to renewal? And if this video opened your eyes even a little, Don't stop here. Tap on the next video showing on your screen right now. It's packed with powerful tools that build on everything we covered today, and it might just be the next step that transforms your health for good.